Welcome back to the ASUG News Studio. My name is Tom Wilgum, and next we have a very special guest coming up next, Tammy Powlas. Thank you again for joining us. You were with us at the annual conference in the News Studio.
Thank you.
With Courtney, and now I get you this time.
Thanks.
Before we get to discussion, I just want to give a shout out to Optimal Solutions, our partner who has sponsored this, and we thank them. And tomorrow we're going to be talking to one of their executives, and looking forward to that as well. So Tammy,
Yes.
when I think of ASUG, core ASUG members and the value they bring, you always come to mind. I think
Thank you.
the spirit you deliver, the time you give, the community, I just think it's great. So you're also very plugged into this community.
Okay.
And one of the big things we've been talking about ASUG is influence, right?
Correct.
Influence with each other, with SAP, among the ASUG. So what does that mean to you, ASUG influence?
ASUG influence means to me ASUG influence councils.
Mm-hmm.
And in the last year we've stood up about 13 active influence councils around the business objects, BI, enterprise data warehousing community, also enterprise management. So we're very fortunate to have 13. And many of them are meeting, here at the ASUG Business Objects User Conference.
Yep.
To me, ASUG influence means being a part of these influence councils and being plugged into SAP product management and solution management in influencing the future direction of the products.
Do you feel like you actually can do that with SAP? They are listening.
Yes.
They are,
Absolutely.
taking your opinions.
Absolutely. There's been several of them. For the analysis one, they asked for our feedback about, okay, how do we migrate these BEX workbooks to business objects analysis? Another influence council has best practices between business objects and business warehouse, and they're building out some standard canned reports, and they ask us and survey us, well, what about these reports? And we've already influenced, by saying certain reports that they were getting ready to develop that nobody uses.
Oh, really?
So there's always, SAP is very welcoming to our feedback, and not just products. Also, we have an in-product education council that's meeting Wednesday, and they want the feedback on these online tutorials that they have for business objects. So and these are free tutorials. So there's wide-ranging scope of influence councils with the ASUG.
How do those, for people who are not on the councils, how do decisions get made among the members?
Well, we have monthly calls.
Mm-hmm.
We have it depends on the influence council. We have monthly calls with the SAP product managers, and sometimes the developers are on the calls too, and they ask for our feedback. Okay, are you still using BEX 3.5? Have you moved to 7.0? So they'll talk to us, and they want our feedback. So it all happens a lot on the calls.
Yep. And then you're able to
influence.
Take that, and then also take it back into your job. I mean, is it?
Yes, that's a good question, because recently we just had the in-product education survey where we were asked to take the survey, not just to the community but also into our companies. Mm-hmm. So you can take it back to your company, and you know what's going to happen, in the next few years.
Right.
And of course you're covered by an NDA. You have to sign a feedback agreement because we can't give out the secrets of SAP. But it's a great way. It's a unique value, I think, to ASUG. And I think Bridget Chambers, the ASUG CEO, she mentioned that yesterday.
Right.
ASUG Influence is a unique differentiator to ASUG. You can go anywhere to get webcasts or things like that, or even have chapter meetings. But ASUG Influence is something unique and very valuable to an ASUG member.
You're able to do your job as well and still get paid. I mean, that's the interesting part, is that we have so many of these volunteers who spend a lot of time, like yourself.
Right.
And yet you've got a day job to do.
Absolutely.
So how are you able to show value to Fairfax Water? Like you say, I'm on this, maybe I'm spending time, I'm going to this conference, but
absolutely.
this
That's
is
a good
what
question.
I'm supposed to get.
The funny thing is, the last time Fairfax Water paid for any training for me was June of last year, because thanks to being really involved with ASUG and also being an SAP mentor, I'm able to go to these conferences, and the more you put into something, the more value you get out. So definitely, the more value you put into ASUG as a volunteer, the more value you get out of it.
Absolutely. So we know that you are the business objects analysis.
Right.
What's going on in that area that you could talk about and share with us?
Well, a lot of things, because the analysis is really they say premium replacement to the BEX tools, because it does cost additional licenses. So it's we're looking at BEX Web, BEX Analyzer, and also the BEX Web Application Designer. the future of that is really in business objects analysis.
Okay.
So it's kind of interesting to see, what the future is, because there hasn't been a lot of investments in the BEX, the Business Explorer tools.
By SAP?
By SAP, because they really want you to start looking at these BI front ends, such as analysis.
Okay.
And it's a little, from personal experience, it's a lot more user-friendly. You don't need to rely on IT as much. So it's been an interesting transition, but every customer situation is a little unique. So.
Well, are you able to, when you get on the councils, when you do have such a diverse range of experiences, how are you guys able to pull it together? Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. I think you learn from each other, because I learned something about BEX Query from a member council from J.Crew. So I mean, and we're a small shop. We have 400 employees, but we're lucky to have other large companies there. But we're all using the same tools. It's a really great place to network and share best practices.
Yep, that's great. One other thing we talked about is this rise of social media in the SAP world, ASUG as well. And I follow that. I'm on Twitter. And then we were talking about your Twitter, and I complimented you. I said, wow, you really do a good job not tweeting too much, but tweeting enough and tweeting the right stuff. And you had said, I can't even do it at work. And that's amazing. You're blocked. So the value, do you see this an extension of ASUG? Or where is it for you for the social media?
I think social media, I was tuned into it once I became an SAP mentor. I went to an SAP University Alliance event with the SAP mentors back in March, and Mark Fennern, who's our chief evangelizer for mentors, he says, nobody's tweeting, so I better step it up.
Right.
But for me, it's more reporting things out, sharing things out. If I've got a complaint about a product, I'm going to take that to the ASUG Influence Councils. I'm not going to complain about it on Twitter. That's just my take.
Yep.
I think it's more of sharing information, learning about what's coming out. That's how we found out Friday, about the new BI 4.0, feature pack 3 was from a tweet from Jason Rose, SAP. Right. So, to me, it's a good way to keep up and follow what's going on and what's going on in the community.
It seems like there's just so many SAP. If you're a mentor, most likely you're there.
Yes.
And if you're ASUG, that seems to be growing a lot, even since I've joined. It seems like more and more people.
Right.
Do you ever get worried there's too many communications mechanisms? There are too many ways to share?
That's a good question. You look at asug.com, where we share our webcasts. We also have the SAP Community Network, which to me is, more of knowledge sharing, contributing, and I was a top contributor this year on SCN. So to me, there's multiple ways to get there. And you just need to focus on a few things. And, from an SAP and, business objects community, I definitely look at ASUG and the SAP Community Network. And also Twitter, because Twitter is like where these announcements came out, like Fridays.
Right.
So it's, you just got to pick, what you're going to focus on.
Right. And you're able to do it somehow while still being blocked at work. One last thing before I let you go would be annual conference. I know it seems like it's a million years away, but it will be here.
Right.
And I know you do so much work for that.
Right.
Give a plug for.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Annual conference. Our call for abstracts is last week of November. We had the BI Business Objects track last year. We had the highest attendance and the highest rated sessions. So definitely, we look for quality sessions, and hope everybody will follow hashtag ASUG 2012.
Right. Well, actually, my last question would be, how do you differentiate the content for here versus annual conference?
Very good question. This conference has always been platform agnostic business objects customers.
Okay.
For conference, we look at more end user experience.
Okay.
And more high level, like directors would come, things like that. Whereas Tech Ed, ASUG, we're fortunate to have 100 hours at Tech Ed.
Yep.
ASUG is more technical content. So it's a little, here we try to focus on the platform agnostic business objects customers. For annual conference, we look at, the whole scope, but more end user, business user based.
Right.
So in Tech Ed is the technical content.
Great. Well, Tammy, once again, great to speak with you, and thank you for stopping by.
Thank you, Tom.
Next up, I will be speaking with Gabe Orthos, and so come on back and see you in about 20 minutes. Thank you.